So we are back here on United and Everything Football Podcast. My name is Kwame. In my nice Yoruba Cup, I have my friends here with me. Kwame Chubuesiapo, who is always with me here on the podcast. Always great to have him. A very good brother of mine. I have a lot to say about him, but we'll talk about it some other time. With us here today is the man, Daniel Cranting. A little story. When United were playing in the Europa League final, I got a text that challenged. Where will you guys be? I said, we'll be at Honeysuckle. Okay, will you still be there? I said, we'll be there. I'll come and do the celebration there. That was the end of the text. The next text I sent him was a text inviting him to this podcast.
Charlie, I was so confident there. I was so confident. In fact,
he's coming there to jubilate.
See, like, and they can't left the office, they can't watch the game for them. We were jammed. I had to watch the game at the office. So I say, after the game, I'll rush. I plan everything. After the game, I'll rush and go there. They will celebrate before I go home. Charlie.
So wait, what happened? You drove straight home?
It was a very, very lonely ride home, Charlie.
Hey. Manchester United. Charlie, great to have you back on the pod. Great to have you back.
Good to be here, Charlie.
Charlie. We've got a lot to talk about here on the podcast today. We are still in, it's off season, so a lot of transfers, a lot of news around. You keep sending us the questions, you keep sending us the suggestions, and all of that. But I got a very interesting text after Kieran Maguire. If you know Kieran Maguire, he's into financial issues when it comes to football. So he's one of the guys who is always analyzing football clubs and their accounts. And he made some very interesting and profound statements on Manchester United's PSR issues. We are here. We'll try as much as possible to break it down. So I'll share the text of the gentleman asking me for us to break things down. So we'll do that for you here. And there's the issue of Gyökeres. Now, it's a developing story. There's a lot that has happened today actually concerning that story. Initially, there was this whole gentleman's agreement thing that was being, shown that the player would be allowed to leave for a certain fee, and it got to a point we heard that things were changing at Sporting, and a lot of issues have happened. And we'll try and break all of that down, and then we'll throw general issues on the transfers here to you and my guest here to discuss here on United and Everything Football. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment for us here down there. We enjoy, you guys are really having fun in the comment section. It's always fun to, engage all of you there. It's always nice. Thank you very much for the lovely messages that you leave for us. And even the criticisms, we always take them and we use them to improve, to get better at what we are doing. So keep them coming. The likes helps us a lot. So smash them, please. Don't joke with them. Smash the likes for us. Give us a 200 likes on this video. Yes, 200 likes. If you do it, we promise to do something for you. I don't know, but we promise to do something. I don't know what we promised to do, but we promise to do something for you here. So let's make a quick turnaround. When I come back, I'll get to the guys and then we'll break down the issues here on United and Everything Football. We'll be right back after this. All right. Thank you very much. Welcome back to United and Everything Football Podcast. Thank you for sticking and staying with us. Let me get to the guys and then let's see what we have for you. I'll start with Daniel. Daniel, I've not had your thoughts on how the transfer business has gone so far. Just some quick thoughts. We've gotten Cunha in. We've sent a first bid from Bemo. It's been rejected, but everything indicates that United is working towards making that deal happen. What have you made of the general transfer strategy based on what you've been reading and what you've been researching about the club? What's been your general impression about all of that?
For me, my first thought when the season was over, in fact, the Cunha deal was wrapped up. We knew what we would be done even before the season ended.
Yeah.
And my first impression was Charlie. In fact, you guys came into mind last year's transfer window when I forgot. I think it was no. Who did we sign first last year? I think it was the Mount deal.
No, that was 2 seasons ago. Our last season was
2 seasons ago.
Zegzi was the first signing.
Zegzi. Yeah. I think it was Zegzi. And I was happy, but I said something. I was like, for the amount of money we had spent since Ten Hag had come in, and the fact that we are still not found like a team that could compete, it was a serious issue for me.
Yeah.
And for me, when the season ended with Cunha coming in, it's back to square one.
Yeah.
Like we signed 2 strikers in the past 2 seasons, and they are not good enough. We are literally rebuilding our attack again. And Cunha has come in. Mbeumo looks like he will come in.
Yeah.
And we are hearing things about the Gyökeres deal. That's literally a new front three.
Yeah.
And a front three that will start when they come. So what happens to the about 130, 140 million we spent on Hoyland and then Sexy combined. Yeah. And it just shows how poor our transfer business has been. But for me, when you add the problems with our finances to how much we need to spend and fix this team, it makes me sad for Amorim because there are so many issues in the team. When I looked at it last season, I thought this team was a bit too easy to penetrate. I don't think the problem is with the defense. I think we need to finish fixing the midfield and then build on the attack. From all indications, we are not hearing any like proper concrete rumors on midfielders we are going to get. And we know Bruno is staying. But another main issue with the Bruno staying was the position that he will play if he's staying, whether he's going to play as one of the 2 10s or he's going to play as an 8, which I personally don't like, which I think backfired in the Europa League final. He playing as a number 8. So there are so many issues with this team, but I'm afraid we will not be able to fix them or a good chunk of them by the end of the transfer window. Although I must say that Mateus the Great Cunha, I'm very, very happy with that deal. He's a top guy, a player I've loved for.
What name have you given to him? Mateus what? The Great.
Mateus the Great. Mateus the Great.
Another one. Another name.
You know, Sexy was launched on this podcast.
Now, as for Sexy Zegzi, he's a player. See, he's a player. He's a solid guy. It's just, the system will come together, and when the system comes together, you say, the guy is top guy, but it will come together. But as for Mateus the Great Cunha, I think for a player who has made the impact he's done in the Premier League and the price we got him for, I think was a steal, a complete steal. Because Cunha will be going for like 70, north of 80 million if we didn't work fast on this deal. So I was really happy with the owners and how they were able to quickly snap it. And to be frank, he suits exactly what the manager is trying to do. And he's one of those players, and I said the last transfer window, he's one of those players that if anything happens to Amorim and he's sacked, anybody who walks into the team can still use him. We saw him last night playing as a number 10 or a second striker alongside Vinicius Jr. That's an option. We've seen him play out wide. I think when he was in Germany, he was playing out wide. He will come in. He's somebody that even during a game, when you want to change your strategy, you don't need to make a substitution. He can fit into any of the rules up front. And those are the sort of players we need when you are still trying to figure out your team and trying to get the system that works. So for me, Mateus the Great Cunha, solid signing. A1 for me.
Now, what about Mbeumo, the potential signing of Mbeumo?
Yeah, it's another one I'm also very happy about because again, when it comes to players who can fit in different roles, last season he played with Wisa as the front team. There was a time when Kevin Shedd came in and then he had to shift onto the right hand side. He played almost like a wing back. Then he started playing like as a winger during games. He's shown he's very, very versatile and he's used to the Premier League. He's young, I think 25, very strong on the ball. He's a player Liverpool were chasing. If Liverpool were going to lose Salah, they had put him down as a probable replacement for Salah. So I think he knows the league very well. His numbers for a team like Brentford, very impressive. And again, he really fits like the system. If I'm just thinking next season, Charlie, like Everdale, because Sexy Mateus the Great, and then Mbeumo, like however you shift them, like if you are playing and Mbeumo goes to centre forward and Sexy comes to the 10 and Cunha, like Charlie, the fluidity will confuse defenders with others. Hey, United, who confuse defenders. But let's take our time for the way the way Kwame they do him, you be like you don't get him. The way they do your body,
No,
you be like you
no,
don't get him, but Charlie they
nah,
give
you gave him too much. We are shocked.
Charlie, see, where is that business? If you don't happy yourself, Moga, you will cry. Where
I
is
think
that
that's
business?
what you are doing here because like you're so motivated.
No. You see, I'm looking at the prospects. I really have a lot of hope for Amorim. Like I
Okay.
genuinely think that all things being equal, he can get it done.
Mm,
That guy is not a bad coach, and there were times in the Europa League run. I'll keep on saying I'll separate the Premier League from the Europa League run. I think we even spoke about this.
mm,
The team he built you can tell he has a very good understanding of European football. The Premier League is very difficult to come in mid-season and immediately make a mark. You can count the
Mm,
number of coaches who have come in and done that. So, looking at the Europa League and what he did with the team, I think it was very commendable. I think he overthought it in the final, which is young managers coming up. You expect some of these 1-2 mistakes. But I have a lot of respect and I have a lot of hope in him. And I feel like all things being equal, if you can get the good squad together. Because last season, to be frank, especially getting to the tail end of the season, if you watch one of the games in the Premier League, it's not like we were bad.
mhm.
Like we were not badly coached. We were just unlucky. You can just tell that some of the players were not a good fit for the system. You could clearly tell. So if players like Mbuemo, Cunha are coming in, now there's no excuse. And you see, these are players who also have mindset.
okay.
So even if it's not going well, they can do something. Like you don't now only have to rely on Bruno Magic. There's Cunha who can conjure some. Mbuemo can do something. Sexy can drop in and do some flick and something. Like and you need some of these players when you are building. That's what top talent does for me. So even the fact that we're able to attract players like this at this point, it just shows you the power that the team has. And
Yeah.
I'm happy that we're able to get some of these deals over the line.
Well, that's that, Charlie. I think Kwame.
There've been plenty. Hey. Anyway.
It will be, it will be.
Charlie, if we laugh together. If we cry
Charlie,
together.
it's very necessary.
That's a good one.
Charlie.
It's very necessary. It's very necessary. But Kwame, let's come back to the question that I was asked on my X account. Let me quickly look at the question again. And the person was like, Kwame, we need more information and explanation on this. And that was when Kieran Maguire, for copyright issues, we can't bring the Sky Sports video, but Kieran Maguire was basically talking about how United have sort of found a way to circumvent this whole PSR issue. And as a result of that, the problems that people think we have, it's not as bad as it has been made to look. But Kwame,
It's not even close.
it's not even
It's
close.
not even close.
Because
It's
if
like
you
we
watch
perform the magic trick.
exactly, if you watch the Athletics chart of clubs in PSR, I think we are number 5 with the healthiest PSR. We'll project it. I'm not too sure, but I'll look for the video, the picture, and then we'll project it so that you see. Shows that we are one of the healthiest. But Kwame is here to explain to us. I'm sure Danny will chip in a thing or two. But Kwame is here to explain to us how we found ourselves in this situation. And that for you to know that we are playing poor for a strategy. It's not that we are poor. Kwame, talk to us about
That's a good analogy. So first of all, Man United, Man U. You know, I don't like us being referred to as Man U.
yeah.
But on the New York Stock Exchange, we are actually called Man U. Man United PLC. Like I think we are PLC stands for what? Public Limited Company.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
We are a listed company.
Public Limited Company. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're on the New York Stock Exchange.
Mm.
All this while, anytime you hear PSR or you hear anybody making any reference to our PSR situation, it's always been because people are always thinking it's Man United PLC that this calculation, PSR calculation, is done against.
Yeah.
But these Glazers, 20 years ago, they formed another company, right? And this company is domiciled in the UK. It's called Red Football Limited, I think,
Yes.
RFL.
Yeah.
This company, nobody ever knew about. Nobody has actually heard about the company. But it happens to be a subsidiary of Manchester United PLC. When you say Manchester United PLC, you're talking about the entire thing, the whole thing. The men's team, the women's team, the training ground, the kitchen man, the everybody. All the property that Manchester United has is under it. But there are other companies as well that people do not know about. One of it happens to be this Red Football Limited. And contrary to what everybody thought, that our PSR situation is calculated against Man United PLC, which has been running in depth. If everybody reads and knows what's happened since COVID, Manchester United has been running at a loss. In fact, over the past 3 years, Manchester United has made losses over 300 million pounds. Last year alone, we made losses of about 130 million pounds. It's not been a profitable business up until the Glazers asked Sir Jim Ratcliffe to come in and put in his own money. And finally, we've turned in a small profit this year after 5 years. But our PSR situation over the past 3 years, that's how it's calculated, has been so poor that it's always been reported as doom and gloom. The Manchester United had exhausted all its capability of trying to, find its way around it because the margins have become so small. I think PSR calculations allows you to spend over the limits by 105 million pounds. United had 15 million pounds room because of how poorly we've sold, how much we've bought players for, the fact that our European football is inconsistent. Everything has been bad. All this while, this past 3 years, Manchester United's PSR has not been calculated against Manchester United PLC. We have been using Red Football Limited as our PSR factor calculation. And Red Football Limited turns in very little losses. In fact, compared to Manchester United loss last year, that was around 130 million pounds. Red Football Limited turned it out only 30 million pounds in losses, which is very, very small in comparison. And that's what UEFA and the Premier League are using to calculate our losses. And that's nothing. In fact, we have so much room when it comes to PSR that we can go over the limits by over 145 million pounds and nothing will happen to Manchester United now. Ask yourself how this is possible. It seems like cheating, but we've seen the likes of Chelsea sell their women's team to themselves. Chelsea will sell the women's team to Blue Coat to themselves. They'll sell properties, car parks, and everything to themselves. In fact, their women's team is worth 200 million pounds. Do you know what? 200 million pounds. If you go and check how much Newcastle was sold for.
That's a good context. For context, Newcastle was some 200 or 300 or so, if I remember. Less than
yes, that. Chelsea can sell a women's team for 200 million pounds. It costs more than most clubs in Europe. For a simple analogy, for people to understand this, I use the Ghanaian company. Let me use a Ghanaian company. You know Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola Ghana. A subsidiary of Coca-Cola Ghana is Baltic. Let's say Coca-Cola Ghana is turning out so much losses, right? That there's a calculation, a penalty that's going to go against them, that they can't do certain things. So Coca-Cola Ghana goes like, you know what? Don't calculate whatever you are calculating against us, Coca-Cola Ghana. Calculate it against Baltic. And then when you go to Baltic company, they are making so much profit, they're making very little losses. So nothing goes against them. Just because Baltic is a subsidiary of Coca-Cola, everything has to go on Baltic's account now, and not the main company which is running at losses. That's basically the magic trick that we've pulled. And it's come to the shock of everybody. Conclusion is we are playing poor. We are playing poor, but soon we'll be caught because nobody is going to fall for it anymore. The thing is, now we don't have a PSR problem now. It doesn't even exist. It shouldn't have existed over the past 3 years because of what we've been doing in the background. What we have is a cash problem. We need to bring in cash so that we don't find ourselves in the problem that we could have been if the PSR was being calculated against Man United PLC. So it's about due diligence now, running your company very well, so that you don't get into trouble anymore.
More like cleaning the books very, very well.
You have to now sell players well. You have to buy players well. Do good contracts. Don't be irresponsible, and then everything would be fine going forward.
Danny, your thoughts on this whole PSR thing?
Yeah, and there was a very interesting article I read earlier today. The takeover that happened with Radcliffe's Ineos, and then the sporting side of Man United.
Yeah.
And I think 46, or let me just round it up to like 47 million pounds as part of payments that went to lawyers, third-party payments and things have basically been written off by the Premier League. So they are not calculating it as part of the cost of the takeover. So Man United have now got like an extra 50 million that they can spend because the Premier League had taken it as it was side payments, not necessarily part of the overall cost of the takeover. So that also adds extra to how much we can spend this same player on the market today. So that's also smart business, I think, from Ineos, because it's Ineos who sent the financial sheet to the Premier League to prove that wasn't necessarily part of it, and the Premier League agreed. And Man United have now escaped with an extra good chunk of cash. But it's a very good breakdown because you gave a very good example of Chelsea, not necessarily sidestepping. It's unconventional, but it's smart. So
it's a
and
loophole.
That's where
It's a loophole.
It's a loophole. They use the law. The Glazers were very smart in doing that because yes, the rules have come, but there are so many ways that you can bypass the rules. And in keeping that secret, that's why look, City was here, he was saying that he doesn't really believe that Man United doesn't have money like that. And anytime he was saying it, anytime he was backing up his, I was like, I was starting to believe what he was saying, because you can't on one hand be telling us you don't have money, yet you are linked to all the top players, and it's coming from like top sources. Top sources are telling us that you are interested in paying big money, and this PSR problem has been there for like the past two seasons.
Yes.
Yet look at the players we're buying. Look at the amount of money we're paying for some of these players.
I think it's the Cunha thing that made people go like, no, let's dig into this because the numbers don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Look at how much you signed Zexi for. Look at how much you signed Mason Mount for. So it wasn't following the narrative, and for me, I think it was smart because this Brentford deal, if you look at the cost that they are attaching to Mbeumo, I don't think it's over the top. Again, we know how expensive buying players from the Premier League are. So if you're going to get a proven quality player from the Premier League for the amount of money they are attaching to him, for me, it's a complete steal. And I think the Ineos have managed to push this word out like we are poor, we are crippled, we can't pay, and it's helped us during negotiations. So for me, I don't even like these breakdowns that people are doing. They should continue thinking we are poor so that we can gather as many players as possible for very.
I think the Athletic are ruining our plan. they are
spoiling it because at this point it's going to affect the player sales also.
Exactly.
Because if people think that we have money, like how it has always been, because we have money, we just sell players for peanuts just to get them off our books. In terms of wages, not necessarily transfer fee. So if word goes around, like cities are going to get smarter. But for me, I think we are in a very good place and we can still have a good transfer window. I think our problems are too many to fix it in one transfer window. But I certainly believe that we can get in a good mix of players who can obviously improve what we did last season.
That's a very good breakdown of the PSR issue for everyone to understand. So if you have any further questions, you can just drop them in the comment section. When we come back in the next episode, which I'm hoping to get Sicho on, we will try as much as possible to also, elaborate on that so you get a perfect understanding. But I want to tell you why we need to sell players. We need to sell players because we can't have a lot of people on our payroll and all of that. I'll give a reason. If you are bringing in Mbeumo, if you are bringing in Cunha, already you would have Mason Mount, who the coach has expressed so much love for. So he won't go. That will be an extra 10. There will be Ahmad and Bruno who can play as extra 10s. And Zexi is going to play as a 10. I don't see him as a striker. I don't think the coach even fancy playing him as a striker. And these are players there. So what then becomes of Sancho, Rashford, and Anthony? They have and Garnacho. They have to go. So we have to find a way. There is enough reason to sell these players and at good prices. Getting Rashford, 40 million for Rashford, 50 million for Garnacho, that's 90 million. And that's full profit for Manchester United. Full profit. And it gives us further room to further augment the squad. Further room. Now you sell Sancho. Now Sancho's book value is around 15 million, right? If we should If we even take the 5 million Chelsea have paid for the penalty, plus we get in an extra 10 million, that's zero. If we sell him for more than 50 million, we are making profits on that. Anthony, for instance, that's how much we have to sell. Now there is Højlund, who is also being courted by Inter Milan. So you see,
why the huge sigh? Why the huge sigh?
That guy, I don't even want to hear his name. That guy.
So you see, there is enough reason for us not to keep these players on the books because the wage bill goes up still, and we need to clear all of them. And what I see Ineos doing is trying to regularize or normalize the wage bill.
That's where the issue is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where the issue
Normalize and regularize the wage bill. People were saying, oh, Mbemo is going to take 200, but the report out there is around 170. That's what is being reported. That's
Plus incentives.
Plus incentives.
In case, yeah.
Even Cunha, we hear, is around that same amount, right? So we are trying to ensure players like Zexia are not on any huge wages. And that is why it's so easy to offload Garnacho because it's not on any big wage. The reason why we are struggling to sell Sancho and Rashford is because of the wages they are on. Teams are willing to do business. However, they are unwilling to commit to their wages. And
otherwise, we would have to pay off the rest of the contract.
And that becomes a problem. So let's hope that Ineos will continue to use this window to regularize the payroll system and also ensure that players are on fair wages, not any exorbitant wages that when it comes to offloading, because that's why we can't offload players. We always claim, oh, City and Chelsea are able to sell players because they are on peanuts. When a club comes and they want to sell them, I mean, for a certain time, it's so easy to let them go. So that's where our problems are. So it's a very, very interesting.
The sins of the past. They never seem to.
And we have to find a way to, get all of these things out of the way. So that is why we have to sell. We need to sell before we can be able to, give us enough cash so that we can be able to invest further. I have this hunch that we can do a lot in the transfer window based off on how quick we are able to get some of these players out. That is why you hear stories like after signing Mbeumo and then Cunha, you have to make sales so that we can be able to, because you will end up piling on, having a lot more players on our payroll who have to leave. So it's very important.
See, it's one of two ways. Yeah. It's either you go the Chelsea way. Chelsea, they will sign the players, right? They'll pile on the players. But when it's time to clear you, they'll apply every kamikaze dirty way of getting you out. We can make things messy that way, or we do it this way where we go like, okay, we are balancing. We've spent this 125 million pounds on Cunha and Mbeumo. Now let's get some players out so that we know that for sure we are not going to end up with a situation where we add players, but players don't leave. And it becomes an untenable situation.
Yeah.
Because Manchester United, I know us. We are not dirty like that. Even look how we've babied Sancho all this while. They will be here till the very last day of the transfer window. And we'll probably have to send them somewhere and pay about 90% of their wages. And on top of that, those clubs will return them to us in 12 months' time.
And another serious issue I have is based on the sporting project. We seriously need to get a full chance. Like, let's say if we plan we are going to sign 5 players this summer transfer window, at least 4 of them should be reporting on the first day of preseason. Look at what City are doing. That was pissed from January. So they've not even allowed him to further extend his anger. They bought all his toys, and when he reports, they are all ready.
But then again, there's the issue of the Club World Cup that has facilitated their moves. They want these guys to represent them.
But regardless of that, it's commendable how they've been able to.
It's typical Man City behavior.
Yeah, quickly get all the.
It's a violent reaction. A violent reaction to a bad season.
Violent reaction. Anyway,
we can't dilly-dally and sign some players on the last day. Then by October, they didn't have preseason, and now we are waiting for them to warm in.
Oh, Charlie. Anyway, let me use 2 minutes to go into the Gyökeres issue, then I'll pick thoughts on Kwame and then Daniel. I'll start with Daniel. But this is the Gyökeres issue that is happening. So over there, I'm sure you've seen on social media that Gyökeres is angry. He has taken Sporting's name off his whatever. Well, the issue is that if you remember, from January onwards, Fabrizio started reporting that there is a gentleman's agreement between Sporting and Gyökeres that he'll be allowed to leave for 60 million plus 10. Kwame, am I right? Or it's 50 plus 10?
Yeah. 60 plus 10.
50 plus 10.
50 plus 10, making it 60.
60. No, it's 60 plus 10.
60 plus
making
10.
It 70.
Making it 70.
Yeah. That's euros, right?
Euros, yeah,
yes,
euros.
So that was a gentleman's agreement. And that seemed to have been what the agent of Gyökeres has been taking around to clubs. Now, as it stands, Gyökeres has not received any firm offer. I mean, for Sporting, they've not received any firm offer for the services of Gyökeres yet. Nothing. So it became a lot of brouhaha. Now, the issue that happened was that Gyökeres and his team were angry at Sporting because it looks as if they are trying to back down on what they feel was a gentleman's agreement. Today, the president of Sporting came to set the record straight. He said that the meeting was between himself, Hugo Viana, and the agent of Gyökeres.
Witnesses.
What they said was that
you should add Gyökeres wasn't there.
Gyökeres wasn't there. That's why I said what he said was that they agreed together was that they were going to waive his 100 million buyout clause. They were going to waive it. But as to how much they are going to charge, there was no agreement on that. So the agent should be careful. He's making things a lot more difficult. This is why, and as it stands, no one has made an offer for Gyökeres. If anybody is speaking to anybody, it has to do with intermediaries and not to Sporting. Nobody has come with an offer. But they know an asset that Gyökeres is. He scored the highest number of goals, I think, in Europe. I mean,
63 goals plus 10 assists in all competitions.
In all competitions. So he's not going to come cheap. And he insists they are not selling him for that whatever amount that is being quoted in the media. So this is the issue of Gyökeres. The manager of Gyökeres or the agent of Gyökeres should go and then put his house in order. And
FYI, this is the same agent of Frankie de Jong. I'm just adding that. It's food for thought.
we have about
Danny, I'm sure you're wondering, like, hey, that guy.
That we have like
we know him.
I can give you 2 minutes and Kwame 2 minutes each on this issue. Let's do it quick. Yeah.
Okay. For me, with the way I know transfers work, I'm not surprised no firm offer has been taken. You have to talk when you are very sure. That's like the bid is like the last thing that you do. And from the Arsenal point of view, you know that Arsenal are not set on who exactly they want. We know the manager wants one player, the sporting director wants one player, so they are still trying to figure that out. We also know that Man United are focused right now on the Mbeumo deal. So we may not see a move for Gyökeres until after we seal the Mbeumo deal. I think that's what is delaying it. But I'm very sure he is a player that the club wants. In fact, if they don't want him, I'm surprised because they don't have a striker. But he's a player I really like. He's a pure finisher.
Just to chip in, Fabrizio says United have spoken to his people last week, over the weekend, and this week 3 times.
And this week, yes. So we know that he's in the minds of the owners and whoever is in charge of the transfers. We want to get him. He is, for me, especially people who compare, is the Portuguese league. Look, the guy's been banging goals since. When Gyökeres was in the championship, he finished, I think, either.
Let's before Danny comes back to complete the point he was making on Gyökeres. I mean, generally, what have you made of this whole brouhaha, this story that's been going on?
I really wish Danny was able to complete his points, but I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah.
Anyway, as for me, it's a case of one person's word against the other.
Yeah.
Who do you believe? I wanted to ask Danny this question, like, who do you believe in this instance? See, the two of us were debating this with our friend Atik Mohammed on this. He's into football agency, and we're always accusing him that he seems to take the sides of the agents all the time, whereas we want to look at it from both angles. And if we look at it from both angles, it's a 10 million euro tussle, in my opinion, because if you're talking about 60 plus 10, which the agent is carrying around. and Sporting is also quoting 80 million euros, as we've heard. There's a difference of 10 million euros, right? And it's an issue of what really went on at the meeting, who is telling the truth. But me, I don't care about those things. What I care about is, at the end of the day, clubs set the prices, not agents. I don't think Timo Vet, what's his name? Werner. No, not Werner. Vet. No, Vet. The guy who went to Liverpool just yesterday for 130 million.
Florian Vet, yes.
Florian Vet. I don't think his agent would have been happy to say, oh, you know what, Liverpool, you have to pay that huge amount of money before you get my clients. The thing is, if he was able to negotiate for less, he would probably earn more from Liverpool, right? In terms of you being able to beat the price down for us. That's what I think is going on here. This agent wants to beat the price down so that at the end of the day, we get him a good agent's fee. He gets paid. If he's not able to beat the price down and we have to negotiate directly with Sporting Lisbon for an 80 million euro fee, then he's probably not going to get as much as he wishes. But at the end of the day, it's clubs that set the price. Manchester United has to negotiate with Sporting Lisbon directly for this player and stop this agent's drama. It's not going to help us. If indeed he's the target, if indeed he's who we want, we have to negotiate with Sporting. My problem now is, like Danny was saying earlier, that Arsenal are in a limbo. I don't think they are necessarily in a limbo. I think what happened was they got hold of this information about the standoff, and that if you are going to get Gyökeres for 80 million euros, and Šeško would cost just 20 million euros more, probably less salary. He's way younger, I think 22 years compared to Gyökeres 27 years. You have to weigh the options. A 22-year-old, 100 million euros, less salary. A 27-year-old, 80 million euros, you're probably going to pay way more. A sporting director who just has come into the job for the very first time would be looking at long-term investment. You wouldn't be looking at somebody who would probably play 2 years and be a bust. You have a list. I know you have a list of players who have strikers in the Portuguese league over the past 11 or 12 years. And that list, if you look at the outcome of all these strikers, when they have moved on, it's quite damning. In fact, the successes, I think there's only one successful name in there. I can't even remember who the person is, but then it's not a good record of these players. So a technical director will be looking at all these things. From the Manchester United point of view, all I know is, we've tried the sexy Zexis and the Hoylunds and the whatever. What we need now is an experienced high-end striker. And there are only two names in mind, in my opinion, who are available on the markets. Either you're going for the Victor from Nigeria or you're going for the Victor from Sweden. I'd rather go for the Victor from Sweden for two reasons. The first reason is he knows the manager, right? He's coming from Sporting, and Sporting, we have a good record with players coming from Sporting. The last player to come from there with numbers was Bruno Fernandes. He's come to England, he's replicating the same numbers. My last reason is AFCON. If we go for AFCON, we may get relegated. We may get relegated. So I don't want too many. In fact, we have too many African players. It's okay. We should reduce. Go for the other Victor.
Let me go for a quick break. When I come back, I'll make Danny conclude, and then we'll bring the show to an end here on United and Everything Football. Right back after this. All right, welcome back to United and Everything Football Podcast. So on the Gyökeres issue, Danny was making a point, and there was a small glitch, so he moved away. Danny, continue. You were making a point on Gyökeres. Let me quickly take it.
I was saying, and in fact, it's interesting Kwame mentioned it, because I know of a list of Portuguese strikers and strikers in the Portuguese league and where they go. But you see, that list, in fact, I'm sure I was the one who was also giving names to whoever was putting up the list, because I know them. Goncalo Ramos, Nuno, friends, and Darwin Nunes. We knew them when they were in the Portuguese league, and we knew that they were bad finishers. Their teams just created a high volume of chances. In fact, if you look at when Darwin left, then Goncalo came, then the team was producing a lot of chances. So even if you miss 10,000, you still score 10,000. It doesn't mean you were a good finisher. and now they are exposing themselves wherever they are. But Gyökeres is a natural, proper finisher, and he's been scoring goals wherever. That's the point. Like when he was in championship, he was banging in. He went to Portuguese league, started banging in. Was it the qualifiers for the Euros? He was banging in. Nations League. Look at the number of games Sweden played. They got kicked out long time. But look at the goals that he scored. Banging in goals. Like he's that raw, natural, like lethal finisher. That typical number 9 that has you don't produce a lot of them like that. See, that Sesko guy. I want him to go to Arsenal so that I want Arteta to get his way so that Gyökeres will be Sesko. Sesko, Benjamin Sesko. We know him. That guy, we know him. Benjamin Sesko. Saga. See, but Sesko can't guarantee you 20 goals in a season in Germany. Now England there. Then he will be like some 12, 13 goal striker. It's Gyökeres that we need. Ruthless, dirty finisher. Like half a chance if he's banging it in. And for me, I completely second that view. But it will have to wait. It's a step by step. As for the price, I don't think it's reached 100 million. But I think, look, Sporting need the money. Sporting, they need the money. They've not sold like a top class player in a while. I think the last time they did it was the Ugarte deal to PSG. But
they've been making these. They sold Quenda plus some other guy, DM to Chelsea a few months ago.
Something.
Combined 50 or 60 million euros. Those clubs, they always find ways of making money. Always.
No, to be frank, if you look at the players, the Quenda deal, they could have gotten more from it. I'm saying like they've not. We know how these clubs survive, especially Sporting Lisbon. Almost every year they sell a big star. So it was Mateus Nunes, then it was Bruno Mendes, then it was Bruno. Then look at when they even sold Bruno. They were doing Bruno don't sell. In January they were forced to sell because they needed the money. They don't repeat that mistake again. They know they need to sell, and that's why they will sit down and make that. Now ask yourself, with the sort of form that Gyökeres is in, why would they agree to waive off 100 million euro signing on fee when the whole of Europe is demanding a striker? Look at all the big clubs in the world. They all need strikers. Barcelona, Lewandowski is leaving. They will need a striker. Man need a striker. Arsenal need a striker. Strikers are in high demand. So why would they voluntarily get up and say they waive off 100 million euro, which is like a 90 million pound deal? Because they know that they need the money. So as for them, this whole gymnastics and things, I don't really care about it. At the end of the day, stop it. If they don't take our money, nobody will pay that money for, because Arsenal won't pay 60, 70 million for Gyökeres. We are the only ones who have the money to pay for him. And he knows the manager. He will pay. If his father calls him, can he say he will not come? As for the money, we pay. But it needs to take time. So I'm looking at step by step. I'm not really focusing on Gyökeres. He will come home. But let's focus on the Mbeumo. Let's get that one done. Then we will get a Gyökeres. Then I know that next season, as for the strikers, one cross there, like we cross ball now.
They've been be serious.
He's gone. Oh, Daniel Cranting. Oh, what a guy. Thank you very much.
Do you know what he's doing? It's like when you're so hurt, and you can't be hurt anymore, then you just flip everything upside down and it turns into optimism. Overriding optimism. You're down so bad, United fans, it's either you cry, like he said, or you laugh. So he's chosen the other way to laugh. A good one.
Anyway, Charlie, thanks so much for being on the podcast with us. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Daniel Cranting. Thank you, Kwame and Chukwuesiaku, for joining. Remember to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification. Okay, Daniel Cranting is here to say bye-bye.
To say goodbye.
Daniel, come and say bye-bye and let's go. Daniel, come and
Charlie,
say bye-bye and let's go. Say bye-bye.
See. Next season. Your
next camera
season.
is not properly turned, so
flip it backward.
Next season, all those who laughed at us last season. Hey, you don't know what is coming.
What was I just telling you, Kwame? A few moments ago.
All those who laughed at us last season. Next season, the only team that will be able to compete proper, we're not playing in Europe. There's no after Sunday, we are looking at next Saturday, then Sunday, one game a week. See if the food will get out of Carabao Cup.
Okay, enough.
It's okay, enough. We'll see you on the next one. My name is Carlos. Have a great time. We'll see you over the weekend where we bring you more updates from the transfer markets. Have a great time. Bye bye.